Welcome to the inaugural edition of Sparkster Inc. on Sports. My name is Manuel, and today I would like to talk about Lance Armstrong's legacy. By now, there should be no question that Lance Armstrong cheated after all the reports that have surfaced exposing him as a cheater and the fact that Armstrong would just walk away from the fight of his life when he had always fought tooth and nail to protect his image. That was a telltale sign that the jig was up. So now the question remains, what will become of his legacy? It's a little more complicated than the typical cheater in sports. Usually when someone gets busted for cheating or admits to being a cheater, whether it's Mark McGwire or Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds, then that's their legacy forever. They're a cheater. But in Armstrong's case, this is a man who rose to fame first by beating cancer and then going on to become not just the most dominant athlete of his sport, but one of the most dominant athletes of any sport. And unlike the others, he didn't just sit back and profit off of his tainted accomplishments. He used his celebrity status to give back in spades by helping other cancer victims and to inspire others worldwide through his Livestrong Foundation. There are cancer survivors out there who are still alive today because he or she was inspired by the man. There are people who wouldn't care less about picking up a bike, let alone ride for sport, but are nonetheless inspired by what he did. He was the best in a sport full of drug cheats. He did what he had to do to beat cancer, and he took that same attitude towards winning all those Tour de France titles. And as more cyclists in his sport got caught cheating, it was only a matter of time before he got busted as well. Quite frankly, what he should have done after his first retirement was to simply admit that he cheated. Just come clean about everything he did and acknowledge the fact that this is what he had to do to win. And I believe more people would be willing to forgive him. Even today, he has his own legion of followers who will rationalize what he did. But imagine the peace of mind Lance Armstrong would have had now, especially all the legal troubles he would have avoided, had he stopped denying it a long time ago. Would he have lost all his titles back then? Of course he would have. But what's the difference? What's the difference between losing them back then and losing them now? Cycling's records are tainted anyway, just like baseball's records are tainted. But people will always remember who set those records and what they did to get there. And what about his charities? Well, Lance Armstrong would have been able to rebuild his image and restore his credibility much sooner by reminding people that he was first and foremost a fighter, a survivor, and ultimately a winner. But by denying it for so long, as he did, he let the lies become a bigger part of his legacy as anything else. It's easier for us to forgive and ultimately forget when somebody admits to wrongdoing, but that becomes much harder to do the longer somebody continues to deny it. In the end, the good things that Armstrong did will still be remembered by those that he inspired, but so will all the bad things. Now, instead of being remembered mostly as a survivor, the cheater label will be right there next to his name, just like all the others. For an athlete as unique as Lance Armstrong, it didn't have to end this way.